Podcasting is hard, you guys. Kudos to all of you podcasters out there who put out content a lot and videos and can do all the technology stuff. That is not my forte. Yesterday, I recorded a podcast, full hour and a half, everything, emptied my brain, and then went to watch it back, and there was no sound for the first 20 minutes. It was one full video, no stops and starts. I never pressed any buttons while I was recording it. Just the first 20 minutes, there's no sound. And then at 20 minutes, the sound comes on. I'm in the middle of talking about a whip or something like that. And it's the sound from the beginning of the recording. So it's like I'm holding up my whip and it's like, hi, welcome back to my knitting room. I'm Melissa. So this is attempt number 2. It's morning, so the light in here might be a little bit different. It's a little darker than usual. I usually record in the afternoon, so hopefully the light is okay. But anyway, hi, I'm Melissa. I am Stitches Be Slippin on Instagram. This is my Stitchin'. This is my Stitches Be Slippin podcast. I am a knitter primarily. I do some other crafty things sometimes when I feel the urge. I also have ADHD, so I get distracted quite easily. That is also the cause of my massive pile of whips over there. I'm medicated. I do take medication every day to try and that was a Friends reference, just in case you missed that. Oh, there goes my ADHD again. Lost my train of thought. Anyway, I was introducing myself. I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, with my husband and my 2 kids. And I work as a yarn dyer 2 days a week at Polka Dot Creek Yarn in Airdrie for Shelly, who's the owner of Polka Dot Creek. And yeah, that's really fun. So I have lots of Polka Dot Creek yarn. We also have we also have a podcast at work called Easily Distracted by Yarn. So if you want to check that out, that's all Polka Dot Creek related stuff. But I also knit a lot of other stuff that's not Polka Dot Creek yarn. So I decided a while ago to start my own podcast to show all that stuff. There is still Polka Dot Creek stuff in here though, because whips are whips, and if it's Polka Dot Creek, then so be it. I am planning on recording this video in segments, just to double check and make sure my sound is working and there aren't weird things happening again like yesterday. So I will do my little intro segment here, then I'll do my FOs, then I'll do my whips, acquisitions, and then things from my knitting room. That's my plan. So general update. Me and my husband and my 2 kids went to Mexico last week for a week. We went to Puerto Vallarta. It was lovely, amazing weather, the perfect temperature, not too hot, not cold, like it was here. We spent lots of time on the beach. We spent lots of time at the pool. My kids are 8 and 10, so they're okay in the pool by themselves now, which is amazing. So I mean, we got on the pool and played football and whatever and did stuff in the pool with them, but still had lots of just time sitting on a chair, on a lounge chair by the pool in the sun, knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting and knitting. So I had lots of knitting time. We had a great time. The first day, our kids got burnt to a mother effing crisp. Didn't swear. I'm sure I will. Yeah, my husband was in charge of sunscreening the boys the first day, and we had a big day. We spent the morning at the beach, we spent the afternoon at the pool, and we did reapply sunscreen, but not enough. Obviously, they were just little lobsters at the end of the day. My youngest had you could see the line where the sunscreen had been applied, and so it looked like he had a red superhero mask on. husband felt awful. He felt terrible. He looked like he was going to cry every time he looked at them. And he was like, you have to do this from now on for the whole rest of the trip. You have to do it. So anyway, we went to the store at the resort, and our resort was it was a fairly small resort, not like one of those big ones, and it had this small store. And we bought a bottle of aloe vera because we needed to treat some sunburn action. So I bought this bottle of aloe vera. Yes, I brought it home because it's ridiculous, and I wanted to show it. We paid 38 Canadian dollars for this bottle of aloe vera because they got you. You're at this resort and you don't know where else to go, and you could get in a cabin to, like, where do you go? We've never been to Puerto Vallarta before, so we wouldn't even have a clue. I guess we could have. Anyway, we were just like, there's a store here and we'll just go buy it. And I bought it, and it was like 520 pesos. I'm like, okay, sure. And then we get back to the room and do the little conversion, and yeah, $38. Anyway, we applied repeatedly, like every 10 minutes for a few days, and then the sunburn went away, so that was good. And then a few days later, they got sunburned again. So, I talked about this with my husband before I recorded this, and he's okay with me telling the story. He now, looking back, thinks it's funny. He was quite traumatized at the time, but I'm not like throwing him under the bus on the internet. A few days later, I was in charge of sunscreening them, and they got burnt again. We're just wussy Canadians who aren't used to strong sun by any means. So anyway, we had lots of fun. My kids had lots and lots of fun. They tried new foods, which is a great thing. We did all inclusive because I wanted to have a vacation. We've done other vacations before to hot places, but always edit like an Airbnb and get groceries and plan meals. And I was like, this is not going to be one of those trips. I want to do nothing. And that's what we did. It was great. I mean, yeah, you get sick of the food by the end of the week, but I was talking to my friend yesterday, and I said, I'd rather be sick of the food that I'm not making than, like, I make the same meals every week here, and I'm sick of those. So I would rather be eating food that I'm sick of that I didn't have to make. So anyway, that was Mexico. Then we got home, and Mother Nature was like, you think you can just go away and have fun in the sun? So she dropped it like it's hot. Well, she dropped it like it's freezing effing cold. And it was minus 30 when we got home. Minus 30 degrees Celsius is where Celsius and Fahrenheit like get together and agree that, yeah, this is really stupid and really, really cold. So minus 30 degrees Celsius is minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Really, really cold. So we got home. Our flight landed at 10 p.m. Our bags didn't come out till 11:30 p.m. And we went out to get in the car, and it was frozen, solid, battery dead, wouldn't start. So we had to get in a cab and come home and leave the car at the airport. I went to the airport. I took another cab back to the airport the next day. Tow truck came. Couldn't boost it because it's a hybrid. It has a weird setup and blah, blah, blah. He couldn't boost it. So I had to take another cab home. These are like, we live 30 minutes away from the airport. These aren't like short, cheap cab rides. Anyway, we eventually figured out how to boost it. Went back to the airport one more time. Not in a cab, in our own vehicle. And successfully brought the car home. So that was that. While I was in Mexico, the first day, like, we got there, slept, and I woke up the next morning, and I had a text from my friend and coworker, Lisette. She's lovely and kind and just super awesome in general. And she texted me and said, hey, I was just watching the new Grocery Girls episode, and they just mentioned you and your podcast and are promoting it. Oh, I almost fell out of the bed. I was just woke up and looked at this text, and I went, what? So, sorry about that. That was really loud. But that's pretty much what my reaction was. So I was very excited about that. I am doing, the reason I'm at all on the Grocery Girls radar is because I was doing some sample knitting for Jody, who is also a yarn dyer and Frankie Gray fibers, and I will be showing that in a little bit. So I guess when I volunteered to sample knit for her, she checked out my Instagram page and saw that I had a new podcast and was so kind as to announce it to the world on their Grocery Girls podcast. So welcome to all of you who came over and checked me out after Jody mentioned me. She said I'm adorable, so that hasn't gone to my head at all, and that I'm a beautiful knitter. So if Jody Brown says it, then it's got to be true, right? You believe everything you see on the internet. Sorry, I just kicked the chair with my foot because I was getting a little too into myself. Yeah. One other thing I wanted to mention before I get into knitting is that I have a new YouTube producer. My best friend from high school has a 12-year-old son who knows lots and lots about YouTube. He's taken courses on YouTube and stuff like that. And they've watched both of my previous episodes, and he had notes for me. So I hired him as my official producer. It is an unpaid internship. However, he had notes. So thank you, Alex, for your notes. The first thing he did was send me a link to a YouTube video on how to monetize my channel. And then I had to gently break it to him that my goal with my knitting podcast isn't necessarily to get rich and become a famous YouTuber. So then I asked for some more suggestions, and he suggested that I learn how to edit my videos and put in like pictures of things instead of holding up my phone to the computer. So I am going to attempt to do that. As you've already heard, technology is not necessarily my friend, so we will see how that goes. I'm going to try. What else did he tell me? Oh yeah, and to monetize, in order to monetize your channel, you have to have like 4,000 subscribers or 1,000, I don't know, thousands of subscribers, and I don't have that. So I guess this is where I have to do my like YouTuber thing where I'm like, if you like my videos, can you please hit the subscribe button down below? Because I think that helps. I don't know. Likes, comments, subscribe. I don't know. I've never paid any attention to any of these things before, which I think also blows his mind. So I don't really know any. I'm just like blown away when I see that people have actually watched my video because I don't understand how it works. So anyway, smash that subscribe button, hit the like, give me a thumbs up. Yeah. And yeah, I'm going to see if this is working, and then I'll move on to, what I'm wearing, and then some FOs. Okay, we seem to be in business. My first segment seems to have worked okay. My furnace just kicked in, so hopefully that's not super loud. But I'm going to move on to what I'm wearing today. This is the No Frills sweater by Petite Knit. It's DK weight, I believe. Yeah, because this is DK weight yarn. It is a DK weight sweater. It's just a basic raglan sweater, which is my jam. This one has a lot more ease than I'm particularly used to, and a very deep yoke. So you can see how deep that goes, and this is my armpit up here. And this is, yeah. Not the fault of the pattern. I followed the pattern, and the pattern was very clear. I just followed it blindly and should have stopped. Like, this is the design. It's supposed to be loosey-goosey and cozy and whatever. It's not my personal preference on sweater fit, but I still love it. I wear it all the time. This is one of my most worn. Do you like how I keep doing this? Like, yeah. I reach for this sweater all the time because it's neutral and goes with everything. I love neutrals. Like, my color palettes are either neutrals or like neons. And this is a neutral with neon flecks, neon tweed in it. So, a match made in heaven. This yarn is Hedgehog Fibers Tweedy. It is a base. Let me show you. I don't have a twisted skein, but I have a leftover cake. So this is what it, look at those. Look at those. Oh, so good. So they mill their own, like this yarn, this base is milled specifically for them. And the tweed flecks are what they call thread waste from Hedgehog Fibers. So they dye lots and lots of amazing, colorful colorways. And they always, I mean, you always have ends, and can you see that? This jar up there? Like those are like when I cut ties off of skeins and just like little leftover bits and whatever. And so you can imagine at a place that produces yarn that they would have lots and lots of those. So they put them to waste instead of They put them to use instead of to waste, and spin it into their own yarn, which is really cool. This was the original one that's undyed. They have other colors where the base is black, but they all have the colorful tweeds, but some of them are like a purple base. There's a black one. I think there's a pink one. They have a number of different colored bases now. So that's Hedgehog Fibers Tweedy, and the base is 50% Falkland Merino wool, 37% recycled wool, and 12.5% Hedgehog Fibers thread waste. It's it's a non-superwash, but it's very squishy, cozy, soft, not scratchy at all. It's a pleasure to work with. I don't enjoy the bat wings, but it's just such an easy, just throw on with jeans and go. So it's awesome. I posted it on Instagram, and I said, I'm not a super big fan of the fit because the yoke is really deep, and someone was like, did you check your row gauge? No, I didn't. I'm not a big fan of swatching, and I will just leave it at that. No, I won't. I'll probably ramble on about it for a while because that's who I am. I don't generally swatch. I know I have swatched a lot in the past, and as a result of all that swatching, I kind of have a good idea of where I'm going to end up. So, for example, if the pattern is looking for a 20 stitch gauge, I'm most likely going to have 21 or 22 stitches. I'm always just a little bit too tight. So my stitches are always a little bit too small. So I know that. So I usually just use that information and look at the pattern, at what the sizes are, like the finished sizes, and then I just kind of fudge it. I pretty much always use the recommended needle size, but then if it's a sweater that is supposed to have 6 inches of ease or something like that, I'll just go with the size that's closest to my actual size. And then, because when it's got a bunch of ease anyway, it's not going to matter if it's a little bit smaller. I'm not a particular person when it comes to stuff like that. So, and I make a lot of fingering and mohair held together sweaters, so I'm very familiar with what my gauge is on different needle sizes. I won't go super deep dive on this one, but I'm very familiar with my gauge when I'm holding fingering and mohair together, so I can easily navigate through the sizes and pick which size is going to work for me and not have to swatch. Anyway, that was what I'm wearing. No Frills sweater by Petite Knit. It's a very popular pattern. Has, I think, thousands of projects on Ravelry. And yeah, so that is what I'm wearing. My FO section is about to start, so here we go. I don't know why I just pointed at that. I was going to point at my shawls back here, but the shawl I'm going to show you is not up there. It's right here. So when we went to Mexico, I was packing my carry-on, my backpack. I basically had chapstick and my knitting project bags because that's all I need to bring on the airplane, and my mask, of course. I was one of the only people on the airplane wearing a mask, but everyone has a choice, so that was my choice. Everyone else chose not to. I'm not going to go any farther into that because I don't want to start getting divisive. Anyway, as I was packing my backpack for the airplane, I last minute decided I should probably just I wasn't bringing heavy sweaters, I wasn't bringing a jacket. That came back to bite me in the ass when we got to the airport and it was minus 30. So I decided to just throw in this mohair shawl with me to take with me, and it came in very handy. I'm very glad I did that because every time we went for dinner, I would take it with me. I would be wearing like a sleeveless dress or like, I don't know, a sleeveless shirt or something, and we would go to dinner. It would be hot because the sun was up, then the sun would go down, and then it would be cold. Not cold, but like not warm enough for me to be not covered with something. So this came in very handy. I would wrap myself in it and be nice and cozy. So this is called Fleur. It is a free pattern on Ravelry by Espace Tricot, which is a yarn store in, I want to say Montreal. I think it's Montreal, Quebec, somewhere. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's like a basic garter triangle shawl. It's supposed to be, the pattern is for bigger than this, but I decided after, I think it's like 2 skeins of fingering, 2 skeins of mohair, and I decided after I finished my first skein of fingering and mohair, I was done. Not because I hated knitting it, it was a pleasure to knit, but I think I've said this before, I don't really wear huge shawls because I have a small frame. I'm 5'1", and giant things just kind of swallow me up. So I really like this size of shawl. So that's where I decided to stop. It's really, really nice. The yarn that I used, at work at Polka Dot Creek, every once in a while we dye something, and after we take the yarn out of the pans to wash it, there's still maybe lots of dye left in the water, and it makes us sad to get to just dump that down this drain. So we threw in, this was one of those days, we had dyed something pink. I think it was like a fairly bright pink. And we were like, we should do something with that. So we just did a one-of-a-kind run. We put some skeins of fingering in a few pans. We put some skeins of mohair in a few pans. And this is what it turned out. Like, I gasped because, as you'll see today, blushy pink is one of my faves. It's a neutral, I think. It goes with everything. So that's what happened here. The baubles, I was going to mention the baubles. I had never knit baubles before. I had heard a lot of people say, I think baubles are very divisive also. COVID divisive. Baubles also divisive. So I had never knit them before. People had talked about how much they hate knitting baubles, and mostly because they don't always stay on the front where they're supposed to be. Sometimes they like poke through to the back, and then it looks like you have like a weird inverted nipple or something. And we don't want that on our beautiful shawl. So this pattern, again, free pattern. The instructions are amazing, very, very clear. And once you're finished knitting your bauble, you I don't remember what the exact instructions are because this was a few years ago that I made this, but you somehow wrap the yarn around the base of it and like strangle it so it can't go through to the other side, so it stays on the top. It's brilliant and beautiful. So that was my fleur shawl. I think that was everything I had to say about that. I will try to put a picture here of the pattern picture, because it's a beautiful like icy blue, and it's the full size of what it's supposed to be, like another skein's worth of yarn. My next thing that I took to Mexico with us, and this is also like years old FO, so I'm kind of cheating here, but it's only my third podcast, so I have lots of old FOs I can show you. This is the French Market bag, also a free pattern by Two of Wands. It's on her blog or her website or something. If you search French Market bag and then put Two of Wands, I don't know, it'll come up. So it's just a very simple cotton. This is crocheted. Super easy to make. I think that's why it's free, because it's quite simple and easy. Like, all of this is actually really fun and kind of addictive, because you're just like chain, 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 single crochet in, chain, 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 and it's just like that, all back and forth and back and forth, and then you just kind of cinch it up at the top. Anyway, these hold so much stuff. This was our bag when we went to the pool, when we went to the beach. It held books and speakers and sunscreen and my knitting bags, shoes. Like, it fits a ton of stuff in it. It's kind of shrunk up because it was so filthy when we got home. I washed it, and it's cotton, so it just kind of like shrunk back up. I have another one here that hasn't been recently washed that I don't know if you can tell, but it's like a little bit more stretched out so you can see, but like, they're huge. Yeah, you can fit a lot of stuff in them. It's a great pattern. So if you are looking for a market bag or beach bag or anything like that, go check that out. I will, I forgot to mention, as usual, my hair is a little crazy today. I didn't chop it off, if you noticed. I couldn't bring myself to do it. I will link everything in the description box below, like patterns, yarn chops, whatever I'm talking about. Because I haven't quite gotten to, I'm going to learn how to put pictures in. Titles, we're going to take baby steps. Okay, so pictures are first. We'll work on titles later, like graphics on the screen. Yeah, okay. So my next FO is my fete stole, which was, oh God, which was a whip last time, I believe. This knits up really fast because, oh shoot, I forgot the yarn for it. It's right over here. Hang on. So this is the fete stole, also by Two of Wands, and it is for an evening out that we're doing in Chicago in April. We're going to Chicago for a business trip with my husband's work, and there are 2 evenings out that are planned for us. And one of the nights we have to wear Prohibition era clothing, so like flapper dresses. The boys are going to wear like gangster stuff. I don't know. He's worrying about him. I'm worrying about me. So this is, I was researching, my brain's just going like bing, 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 bing. I was researching Prohibition era clothing. There's lots of like flapper dresses and stuff like that, but I noticed in a number of pictures of women just wearing like fur stoles. So I was like, I can make one of those. So I did. This is it. You can wear it this is like folded over or like up like this, but I think it will probably be folded over like this. And then it has one moment. It has a strap on the front on, yep, this side. So there's the strap. And so you wrap it and pull the end through, and then you don't have to hold on to it as you're wearing it. So how did I do that? There, this like goes over top of here. Yeah, so if it's cold, it'll be great. If it's not cold, gonna die of heat. What's it called? Heat stroke. That's it. Anyway, it was a very easy knit, very fast, bulky, like super bulky. I did grab that yarn. This is Lion Brand, Go for Faux, and the color is called Blonde Elk. It knit up really fast. I did mess up a little bit on it. I started on this end and was increasing up to here, and I was supposed to do more increases, but I didn't want it to be super wide because, like I said, it would just like swallow me up whole. And then I knit straight, knit, 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 knit. My hands were getting real sore because it's very, very bulky yarn. And so then I started my decreases, and I forgot that I didn't do as many increases up here. So I had less stitches, and then I just followed the pattern and did as many decreases as I was supposed to be. So this end is a lot more pointy than this end. I can show you, I can hopefully, so this end is very pointy, but this is the end that goes through the strap. So you can't see that very well. Anyway, nobody's ever gonna notice it. I'm the only one that knows, but I want to be fully transparent, and I mess up things all the time and rarely fix them. So that's just, like I said, I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to knitting. That is that. So as I mentioned before, I did some sample knitting for Jody Brown, who is half of the Grocery Girls and is oh man, my brain, is a yarn dyer now. She has her own yarn dyeing company with her daughter, and it's called Frankie Gray Fibers. She put a call out, I don't know, a few weeks ago asking for sample knitters, and I threw my hat in the ring, not expecting to get chosen because I'm sure she had lots and lots of people. But I think I probably was just happened to be on Instagram at the time that she put it out, and I was maybe one of the first ones that responded. I don't know. Anyway, she picked me. So she sent me some yarn, and two patterns, one hat and one cowl, and that was quite a bit of my Mexico knitting. I'll show the yarn first, and then I'll show you what I made. So this is fingering weight. It's an 80-20 base. It's a really nice, actually, like really nice high twist, 80-20, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's a very nice fingering weight base. And that color is called Indigo. It's a very beautiful, like rich navy blue. And this is the same colorway, but on mohair. So it's just interesting how mohair takes up dye very differently, because the base thread is silk, so it makes it shiny. It's very pretty. So indigo on fingering and mohair. And then that is my main color for my projects that I was making. And then she sent 3 contrast colors for the color work. This one is Midas, which is, it's pretty close. It's a little more gold than it's coming up on the screen. So this is DK weight, Midas, and this one is called Linen. It's just a very, very light. It's got some color. It's almost a natural undyed base, but it's got just a little bit of color on it to give it just a little bit of, I don't know, zhuzh. And the last one is Hibiscus. This one is amazing. I mean, they're all amazing, but this one, I mean, neons are my neons and neutrals. Like, yep, gorgeous. So those 3 contrast colors are DK, and the main color indigo was fingering and mohair that she wanted done for this pattern. I think in her original sample it was all DK, but I think she just wanted to switch it up and show what it looks like when you hold fingering mohair for the main color. So this is the Hanel hat. I will put a link below, and yeah, that's what I'll do. It's spelled Hanel, hat. And then there's a matching cowl that I'll show you in a minute. So it's not Fair Isle stranded colorwork. It's slip stitches, and I have not done a lot of slip stitch colorwork. I think it's called mosaic colorwork. So in the beginning, I found it a little fiddly, but like once I got in the groove, it flew. Like it absolutely flew. It was addictive and super fun to knit. I cast on at the brim when we got through security on our way to Mexico, and we were waiting to get on the airplane. And by the time we got to Mexico, I was up to, I think here. I think I had finished that white stripe. So I had the blue and the pink left. And then I realized that I hadn't brought my magic loop cables, so I couldn't do the decrease. So I did all of this on the way there, and then had to bring it home to finish it. And I had like, I don't know, 3 or 4 rows of decreases to do, and then it was done. So that was that. It's very nice and squishy and fun. The slip stitches make a fun kind of bumpy texture. Just give it a little interest. It's really cute. And then I made the matching sister pattern. This is the Hanel cowl. So, I don't know. I don't want to put it on and get like my hair all over it and stuff, but later today, after I finish recording this, I'm going to take these to the post office to send them back to Jody. I think they're podcasting on Thursday. I want to get it to her so that, I don't know if she's planning on showing it on their podcast or not, but I wanted to get it to her just in case she does. So this is the sister version to the hat. I worked on this mostly at night in Mexico when the boys went to bed. Then I would pick this up, just because I had to, like, it wasn't a beachside project because it's mohair, and I would have had to like actually think about stuff. I mean, by the time you get a few repeats in, you don't really have to think about it, but I didn't want to think about anything. No thinking. So I worked on this at night. So I would do like a couple of repeats every night. So I finished almost all of it, probably up to about here. And then I finished the rest on the airplane on the way home. And I got home and looked at the picture in the pattern and looked at this and realized I just I forgot one of the stripes. So there's supposed to be 8 color stripes and there's only 7. I messaged Jody and I said, I messed this up. Do you want me to rip it back? And she's like, no, just leave it. It's fine. I really like how the pink just kind of bookends everything. I think that looks really cool. I just really like the pink. So anyway, that's the Hanel cowl. It was also really fun to knit, very quick, like DK weight. It just kind of flies off her needles. And yeah, so thank you to Jody for giving the opportunity to sample knit. I do get to pick out some yarn as compensation for sample knitting, so I'm looking forward to choosing some free yarn. Yeah, so that was my sample knitting. Do I have any? That's all of my FOs. I didn't work on my Centro knitting machine at all between last episode and this episode. I just was busy doing other stuff, and then we were in Mexico. But I did see Taylor from Wool Needles Hands. I think that's the name of her podcast. She recently did something on her Centro where she held 3 strands of fingering weight together to create like a worsted weight, and then cranked that on her Centro. She made a cowl with it, but I would probably make it too. I'm very curious about that, and because I have lots of like leftovers, like half cakes, and definitely lots to work with if I was going to do that. So I'm intrigued by that, and I'm planning on trying that, and we'll see how it goes. I can show you the results of that experiment on the next episode. Okay, I'm just going to double check that my video is still working, and I'll BRB. I am still successfully recording with sound, so this is excellent. I had some tea. This is my big girl mug for when I need to caffeinate. This is a sticker that is awesome because it's rainbow and it's knit stitches. It's from Rosie Posey Design Co. She has lots of fun stickers and stuff. And it matches my tattoo. I don't know if I've shown, you can't really see it. Let me see. My tattoo on my finger. Yeah, it's stockinette stitches. Half of it fell out after the scab came off because it's on my finger, and like I designed a thing saying finger tattoos sometimes just fall out and the ink, there's not enough substance underneath to hold the ink. So the bottom of the stitches fell out, but the top is still there. So when you go like this, it kind of looks like they're still, it doesn't really matter. I knew that going in. I knew that it could, I have a tree on the inside of my ring finger. That is a tattoo for my husband, who loves trees, and it's on my ring finger. And I've had this touched up. The first time I got it tattooed, almost all the ink fell out and it was really, really faded. And then when I got sorry, I'm not trying to give you the finger. When I got this one, I got her to touch up this one, and it actually stayed in and looks really good now. So I might try and get this one to go over it one more time and see if it stays in, and if not, I'll just leave it. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, I'm moving on to whips. Sorry, I clapped. I had a comment on my first episode saying, don't clap near the microphone, so sorry. My whips. My first whip is my ongoing whip. It is my half and half triangles wrap by Pearl Soho. I've been working on this since the beginning of the podcast. I worked on it a lot in Mexico. I took it with me. It was my pool project, my beach project, my going to dinner project. The waiters in Mexico thought it was hilarious that I was knitting at the dinner table. But anyway, they also thought that my son was a girl because he has like hair down to here. He has like a skater haircut. It's like buzzed underneath and he parts it in the middle and it's down, like it's like classic 90s skater. But I don't know, I guess Mexican waiters don't think that boys should have long hair. So they kept calling him Senorita. Poor guy. So just a reminder, gender stereotypes are bad. Not all girls have long hair. Not all boys have short hair. Thank you very much. Anyway, half and half triangles wrap. I worked on this a lot in Mexico. I worked on it for hours and hours and hours. This project is a massive time suck. If you've seen my previous episodes, I started it before and I did the short rows wrong and it was half the size it was supposed to be, so I had to rip it out and redo it the correct way with all the short rows. I was only short rowing every other stitch and you're supposed to be short rowing every stitch, so it was only half as big as it was supposed to be. I just had done the first triangle. So I worked on this for, like I said, a long time in Mexico, and I almost got finished the first triangle in Mexico, and then we got home and I finished the first triangle. And I have started the second triangle. So, as I said, Pro Soho is a free pattern. They have lots of amazing free patterns, actually. And so this is her. I'm making the small size, well, the small size plus a few stitches. The small size is 190 stitches, I think, and I think I cast on 200 when I recast on, just because it's a nice even number that my brain likes. So, this is the first triangle. Yep, just a big pink triangle of garter stitch. Fingering weight. Almost 2 full skeins of fingering weight yarn. And then, of course, as soon as I finished that, I had to put on my second color. So after you finish the first triangle, then you have to resolve all the short rows. I did German short rows. That was part of the problem the first time. Anyway, you have to, because you're working up to your short row just before it, short rowing and going back. So you're leaving all those short rows behind you, like a trail of tears. And then at the end, you have to knit all the way across and resolve all those short rows. And so now I'm on my second half of the triangle, and you resolve the short rows as you go, because on the first half your rows are getting shorter. You start at the very end and get smaller and smaller and smaller, and this one you start at the very end again, but you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's very fun right now because the rows are short and it's an amazing color. It's going to get less fun when the rows get way longer, but it's a long-term project. It's very easy, very mindless knit. So it's just my take with me whenever I need something mindless to knit on. It did get, as it was getting bigger, it was getting a little too hot to work on, like having it in my lap on the beach and stuff. So I did, after a while, in the last few days, worked on a different whip that I'll show you in a minute. So those are that's the beginning of my second half of my triangle, half and half triangle wrap. I'll try to find a picture and put it here of what the finished. It's just a big square with half the triangle one color and the other half is a triangle in the other color. My colors are, oh shoot, I put them back up there after I recorded yesterday, but I can show you what I have in here. It is Pearl Soho linen quill, and it is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, 15% linen. It is really, really nice yarn. It's very squishy. It's very soft. I know it has linen in it, but it's not scratchy at all. It just keeps getting softer and softer as I use it. I really, really like it. I was a little on the fence about it at first, but it's definitely growing on me. I really, really like this base. This color is Peony Pink. And my second color, same yarn, Pearl Soho linen quill. This is the color, oh shoot, Pink Pop. Yeah. I like pink. Did you know that? Could you guess? Oh, and the other thing I wanted to talk about on this, my other problem when I first started this project was I was using my ChiaoGoo stainless steel interchangeable needles, and this yarn was just too slippery on it and very frustrating to work with. So I switched to did I put it in here? Oh, there they are. I have a set of Lyka, Leaky, Lykka, no, E, wooden needles. They're just shorties. But just to have, because sometimes you just need to switch needles to make your project more enjoyable, and that is exactly what I had to do here. But the cables that come with these Leaky needles are brutal. So they just are very kinky and curly, and I was going to abandon my project because it was awful to work with. The needles are great, cables suck. So I put it on Instagram, and someone said buy the lantern. Oh my god, I did it again. Duh. Someone said get the Lantern Moon swivel cords. They're coated stainless steel, very similar to the ChiaoGoo cables. And so I bought those. They work. They are compatible with the Leaky needles, and that made a huge world of difference. Like, yeah. So this is what I used for my first half. When I was having that problem, someone else also suggested, after I'd already gotten these cables, was like, you know that ChiaoGoo makes bamboo needles, right? And I did not know that. So I ordered just the tips in the size that I needed for this project. And I'm using these on my ChiaoGoo cables for the second half of my project, just as a little knitting experiment. And I'm finding these needles are great, but they're shorties, so you have to hold them differently, which is fine. But my hands would get a little crampy after a while, or after a number of hours. Let's get serious. These ones are 5-inch needle tips. So it's much easier to hold, I find. I find longer tips easier to knit with. So this is I'm finding much more enjoyable. Look at this little guy or girl or what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my god, non-binary. This could be a non-binary alpaca. Who knows? These are needle stoppers from a coworker of mine. Her name is Jessie. Started her own little kind of notions, etc. business, and these are from her. Her business name is Hissy Knits. I will link it down below. I don't think she has a website yet, but you can buy all of her products at Polka Dot Creek in store and online. And these are the little alpaca needle stoppers. She also makes the silicone barber cord type things. So you could check those out too. My project bag that this is living in used to be in that cute like black and white one with the animals and stuff on it, but it was getting a little too big. So we had to upgrade. Not upgrade, just move to a bigger project bag. This is by the same maker. This is Creek Gardens Crafts, who is Penny. And this is my project bag that is now living in. It's a beautiful like sagey greenish blue. And then it's got cork on the bottom with gold flecks in it, which I'm obsessed with. It's beautiful. It's just a nice basic drawstring bag. I tend to use drawstring bags over zipper bags just because I can just do that. Zippers kind of freak me out with the yarn inside. And that is that. So my next whip you guys haven't seen yet. This was an impulse purchase. It was one of those things where I saw it on Instagram and gasped and immediately had to order the yarn for it. And as soon as the yarn arrived, I cast on immediately. So this is called, oh dear, the Amapola cardigan. Amapola apparently is Spanish for poppy, which I didn't know. I speak Spanish. I majored in Spanish in university. Fun fact. My kids both go to Spanish bilingual school, so their instruction is 50-50 Spanish and English. And that has nothing to do with my project, but there, now you know a little bit more about me. The Amapola cardigan. It is by Unit, which is, I can't remember what it is, a Unit and Crafts or Unit Toronto or a Unit Co, something like that. U is spelled E-W-E. I'll link it below. They have an in-house designer, and that she makes lots of beautiful patterns. This one, I just saw the picture and was just like, immediately, I need to make that immediately. And I ordered the color of the sample. Samples sell. Make beautiful samples, and people will buy the yarn. This is going to be a little hard to show because it's a bottom-up cardigan, and I'm in the middle of doing the front panels. So I will try. It is, oh dear. Okay, this is the back. So it's bottom up, so that's from the hem up to the bottom of the underarms. And then this is the side that I'm working on. So this is the armhole here, and it's a V-neck. So I did some increases on this side. Obviously there's no neckband on it, so it's curling. But look at that beautiful fabric. I will show you the yarn in 1 second. It's, yeah, I've never done a bottom-up cardigan before, but it's like a bulky weight. These are big needles. These are 6.5mm needles. US 10.5. I don't know. The US sizes don't make sense to me. Sorry to any American knitters. I don't understand them. The yarn is 2 different kinds of, it's a worsted weight and a mohair held together to make a bulky weight. And they're 2 yarns that I've heard lots and lots of people use, and I've just never had the opportunity to try them. And so I was excited about that too. So this is Drops Air. It was a very popular commercially dyed yarn, very readily accessible. But I think I've just never been in a store that had it before. and didn't have a project particularly in mind for it, so never actually ordered any of it. So then this came up and add to cart. This is color 34. They don't have color names, I guess, but it's a really nice, like sandy browny pink. That's a great description. And it is held together with tin silk, sandness garn, tin silk mohair, which is another one that I've heard of a million times and never had the opportunity to try. So very excited about that. It's just a really nice, like light blushy pink. And sensing a trend, I like pink. It is 57% mohair, 28% silk, and 15% wool. I didn't know it had wool in it. That's interesting. It's just a really nice mohair. So those two held together are making magic. It is so light and fluffy, like it's a bulky weight cardigan, but it weighs nothing. It's hopefully back when I originally announced what pattern this is. Hopefully I will have put up a picture so you can see what it looks like when it's finished, because this is not a good indication of what it will look like. But it is knitting up very quickly because it's a big gauge, big needles, and I'm hoping that it will be an FO for my next episode. That is living in my Hohi & Co. Santa Cruz bag, which I showed, I think, last time. And what's next? Oh, I skipped my Cozy Memories blanket. This one I'll just do quickly. I've talked about before. I just added a few squares to it. This is my Wild Strands. Where's the tag? Wild Strands Handcrafted is the maker. I won this bag as a prize in a knit along from Grocery Girls actually a few years ago, and it's tie-dyed, so it's really cute. I don't know if I think the last time I checked her shop, the shop was on break. It's an Etsy shop, so I'm not sure if I don't know why I just closed that. I'm not sure if she's making right now or taking a break or not making anymore. I don't know. So my Cozy Memories blanket, if you haven't heard of it before, or if you haven't seen this before, it's usually a fingering weight. They're like just mitered squares, and they're usually just fingering weight, but those make teeny tiny squares, and I don't have the time or patience for that. So I'm holding fingering weight double and using bigger needles. And my plan, or I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but I'm holding one strand of gray together with every color. So there will be gray throughout to create some consistency, because my brain sometimes is like when it's a whole bunch of different colors right side by side without anything, that kind of hurts my brain a little bit. So I added 2 squares. This one is Polka Dot Creek self-striping yarn in the coffee shop colorway. This is leftover yarn from socks I made for my husband for his birthday, which are these. That's an amazing color, isn't it? Then the contrast color, this color is Sand from Polka Dot Creek, and this color is Black Coffee. So that is what it looks like when you're not holding it double with gray, and this is what it looks like when you are holding it double with gray. Isn't that cool? And then this color is a mini I had in my stash from Yarn Inc., who is another local Calgary area dyer, and she does lots of amazing, beautiful speckled colorways. This one, she has a whole series of neon speckles colorways. She calls it the Offensive Crew because they all have the F word in their names. She did a small advent last year at New Year's. There was like a 12-day advent. That was like, I think it was at the end of 2021, and it was like, thank God 2021 is fucking done and we can get rid of it. And so it was like a countdown to 2022 because like, let's just leave that in the past. And they were all her offensive colorways. So this is the mini that I held together with the gray. It's very fun. I have 12 other ones that are going to end up in here eventually. So this one's called Fuck Outta Here. I very much enjoy the F word. So this was right up my alley when like every single colorway says the F word in it. So that is that. And I will toss that over there. My last whip is the other thing that I started working on when my half and half got too big in Mexico. When I was talking about going on our trip last time, one of my friends suggested taking like a summery project, summery yarn, summery top type thing. So I had this yarn in my stash for this pattern and just hadn't made it yet. It's called the Staple Linen Top. I believe that's what it's called. It's by Joji Locatelli. I'll put a picture, hopefully, up here of the finished project. So you'll see like her pattern picture. So you see what it looks like. I'm using also another thing where I saw someone make it and bought it because I liked what they made. This is from Sonder Yarn Co. Melissa is the owner of Sonder Yarn Co. And she made this project with this color of yarn and I loved it and immediately ordered the yarn so I could make it. So it is Sonder Yarn Co. The base is called Muse and it's 90% merino and 10% linen. The color is called Érable. I don't know how to pronounce that. I think that was pretty close. I think I kind of nailed that actually. No idea. I took French in elementary school and then I switched to Spanish. So I would like sit in the back of the French class I did Spanish by correspondence because I'm a dinosaur and we didn't do anything. There was no online classes. So yeah. Anyway, that's my pattern. Don't need it. This is my whip. This is I can't remember if I start with in panels, you do the top of the front half and the top of the back half, and then join them in the round and do the body. So, and then I'm assuming I'm going to 3 needle bind off at the top. I'm not sure yet. So this is how much I got done. It's pretty. The color is so pretty. I can show you the yarn. So it's 90% merino, 10% linen, so you can see all the little linen bits in it. It's super soft. Like when you think linen, you think crunchy, but that's like 100% linen. This is 10% linen, so it just adds that little bit of texture and like color interest, and it's very, very, very soft. So it has a little bit of twisted rib in the middle, just for interest across the like ladies. And yeah, so I haven't got a lot done. It's fingering weight yarn on like fairly small needles. This is a 3.5 millimeter needle. So it's gonna, I mean, it won't take super, super long because it's just a tank top, but I didn't work on it a ton while I was there, so that's why it's just a little guy. This is a Fringe Supply Co. bag that I got when they were still in business. They don't make bags anymore, but you can buy the pattern to make this bag on a website called Grainline Studio. They have, you can buy the pattern so you can sew it yourself. Sometimes they also sell kits, so they sell like the canvas and the drawstring and the strap and stuff. You kind of have to catch them when they're in stock because I think they sell out pretty quickly, but that is that. Speaking of Sonder Yarn Co., I mentioned before, but I'm going to Knit City, Montreal in May with my friend Karen, who I have been Instagram friends with for years, but we've never met in person. So we're very much looking forward to actually like hugging each other and hanging out together for a while. She lives in New York, in Brooklyn, and works in Manhattan. And what was I? Yeah, we're going to Knit City together. I have my flights booked. Karen booked our hotel. We're very excited. We booked our workshop that we're doing. We're gonna both do a steeking class together, and that's one of my goals, my knitting goals. I think it's my only knitting goal, actually. I'm not one of those people who like makes a list of goals at the beginning of the year. I mean, obviously I made 1 month of a temperature snake and out of here. So I'm not really goal oriented. I get distracted, like I said. Like I'm distracted right now. I was talking about Knit City. We're taking a steeking class, and while I was in Mexico, Karen got our tickets to both the knit nights. There's 2 knit nights. One is, I think, hosted by Amy from La Bien-Aimée, so that'll be fun. And the next one is Cabin Boy Knits, I think is the host, and someone else that I can't remember. Anyway, I'm very much looking forward to going to the Sonder Yarn Co. booth. That is the highlight. That will be the highlight for me. Well, maybe not. Maybe I'll find something else that I really like. But as I already work for a yarn dyer, I have access to unlimited amounts of the bases that we carry. So we mostly carry superwash yarn, besides the mohair and Surrey, and we do carry some commercial yarns and stuff, so I have access to all of that stuff and a discount, so it doesn't really make sense for me to buy the bases that we have and the things that we have anywhere else. So the yarns that I buy that aren't from Polka Dot Creek are almost always like bases that we don't carry, or like different colors, that kind of stuff. So Sonder Yarn Co. Has lots of bases that I'm very interested in, and I'm a tactile person, and I really want to just go and like touch all the different bases and see what they're like and see the colors in person. It's a very different experience being at a fiber festival or being at just a yarn store and seeing the colors in person, as opposed to like just like a series of pictures of yarn all beside each other. So anyway, looking forward to that. I have a few projects in mind already to purchase for, but I'm also looking forward to seeing what other vendors are there, because I don't have access. I mean, I have the internet, but I think there's going to be lots of vendors there that I haven't heard of before, because I mean, when you live in a certain place, you know of all the dyers and businesses fiber related that are around you, but not necessarily that are far away. So I'm looking forward to that too. And yeah, and the other trip I mentioned before, we're going to Chicago, my husband and I, in April, and I'm just starting to plan for that too. There is going to be one full like daytime day that he's going to be in meetings all day. So that day is going to be my Chicago yarn crawl day. I googled yarn stores in Chicago, and there seem to be a lot. So I don't really know how to narrow them down. Some of them have websites, some of them don't really. So if anyone out there is in the Chicago area or has been yarn shopping in Chicago, please let me know if you have any yarn store recommendations. We're staying close to the bean, the like big silver bean statue, monument, whatever you want to call it. I will be getting in an Uber or cab or something and going around to a few yarn stores, so I'm willing to go, but not like super, super far, because I've never been to Chicago, and a woman in a cab by herself in a place she's never been to is not always that comfortable. So anyway, recommendations requested and would be much appreciated. I am going to just double check still that my video is working and come back with some acquisitions. One last segment, and well, 2 segments, but I'm going to try and keep it quick because I have been a little too chatty as usual. Acquisitions is what I'm going to talk about now. You have seen some of my acquisitions, my yarn for my cardigan from Unit in Toronto, and my Frankie Gray yarn that I sample knit with. And those, yes, you've seen. You saw my alpaca needle stoppers from my friend Jessie at work with Hissy Knits. So I just have a couple more. Where is my bag? Here it is. I talked recently, I think on my last podcast, about that I found the pattern for the yarn. I found the pattern and the yarn for a top I'm making for the other evening we have in Chicago, where we have to wear something sparkly or shiny or whatever, so I've used that as my excuse to finally make a sparkly, sequiny, knitted top. I'm making the Puff Tee by Knitted, what's it called? Knitting for Olive is the designer. I can't remember what her actual name is. It's her actual name on Ravelry, but I'll link it below. And I'll try to put a picture here. The pattern picture doesn't really show you super well what the end game is. So I'll try and find like a project picture. Some of the projects you can kind of see a little bit better the silhouette of the top. It is mohair held double. It's just like a basic tee, but it had, it's not raglan. It's a saddle shoulder, which I'm very much looking forward to because I haven't done a saddle shoulder before, so that'll be fun and interesting. And it has puff sleeves, which is why it's called the Puff Tee. The pattern is meant for a little more ease than what I'm shooting for, so I'm making the smallest size and with smaller needles because I want it to just be like not negative ease, neutral ease. So not negative ease, not positive ease, just right. This is my Goldilocks top. So I am knitting it with 2 strands of black mohair. And that's not all. I'm knitting it 2 strands of black mohair and sequins. Yeah. I've never knit with black before. Everyone says knitting with black is awful, but I'm doing it because black is elegant. Sequins, I have to wear something sparkly, so I think it's gonna look pretty amazing, actually. So here's hoping. This is Knitting for Olive. This is the color Licorice, and this base is 70% mohair, 30% silk. It's very hard to find like a pure, deep, saturated black on mohair because of the way that mohair takes dye. This is really, really nice, very saturated. And the sequins are called King Cole Cosmos. I ordered this from the Crafty Jackalope, who's Amanda in Vancouver. This is the black color with silver sequins. She has other types of sequin yarn too that have like more sequins per inch and stuff like that, but they're less yardage, and I didn't want to buy like a million balls of it. So 2 should get me. Actually, 1 will probably be enough, but I bought an extra one just in case. So this is like 420 yards, 429 yards it says. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty sure that will be enough. Maybe a little bit more. Anyway, that is what I'm making with that. I'm making I was putting everything in my project bag, which I'll mention in a sec, and realized that I had lost the needle tips that I need. I use an ChiaoGoo interchangeable needles, and I couldn't find my 4mm tips anywhere. Not in any project bag, not anywhere. They couldn't find any. So there's a new-ish, she's been there for I think probably about a year now, yarn store very close to me, which is good and bad. She's like a 2-minute drive away, maybe 5 with traffic. And it's called Little Bow Fiber Company. Her name's Michelle. She's very sweet and very, very friendly and loves to chat when you come in. It's a pretty small yarn store, but it's just chock full of beautiful, beautiful, beautiful yarn. She carries wool folk. She carries, now I'm blanking, but she has lots of really, like, a lot of it is commercial yarn, but it's not just like, I'm not doing you any justice. I apologize, Michelle, if you watch this. She has a lot of really just beautiful bases. I don't know what to say. Go check it out. She has a website. I'm pretty sure she ships wherever you are. And I apologize, Michelle, for this terrible, terrible shout out. But I was looking for needles. I got my needle tips there, and I saw these little scissors, which are super cute. They're little snips, really. She has other ones with longer blades, but I really like the little snips. And this is the little case that they come in, LDH scissors. I'd never seen or heard of them before, but I just really liked them. And I'm definitely one of those impulse purchaser people who like grabs the thing by the tail and has to have it. So I got those, and I also got these. So this is Estelle, which is a very commercial yarn, but I'd never seen this base before. It's called Alpaca Whisper. So it is a blend of Surrey alpaca and mohair and silk. So it's like Surrey alpaca and mohair had a baby, and this is how beautiful that baby is. It's the feel of it is more like a Surrey. It's not like, it has mohair in it, but it doesn't have the big halo that mohair has. It's more of a Surrey like fluff. It's really pretty. It's very squishy. This color is called Cinnamon, and it's 54% baby alpaca, 24% mulberry silk, 22% super kid mohair, and there's 400 meters, which I can't convert meters to yards on the best day, and so that is what it is. Of the colors she had, this was the color that really spoke to me. We have a color similar to this sort of at Polka Dot Creek, so I'm going to see if I can find something to hold together with this. When I find mohair or fingering or something that I like that I don't have a project in mind for, I buy two, because I can always get, I'm lucky. Well, not lucky. My body is what it is. I have a small body. So I usually make one of the smallest sizes, so I can usually get away with two skeins of fingering, 2 skeins of mohair, and that will get me a long sleeve shirt, sweater, top. So I got 2. And there's that. This is my project bag that is living in. Look at that cork on the bottom with the rainbow. Huh. Yeah, sucked me right in. This is by Daydreams of Quilts. I can't remember if she has a website or an Etsy shop, but I'll find it and link it below. She's on Instagram too. And that is that. Those were my main acquisitions. I also brought something home from Mexico. They got me in the airport on the way home. They're like, the path to the gates is just littered with souvenir shops. Like, you forgot to buy a souvenir, like, give us the last of your money that you still have. And I don't usually go into most of them because it's all just like plastic garbage and stuff like that. But there was one store that had like really cool stuff in it. It was like handmade things from local artisans in Mexico, and I like hook, line, and sinker. I was in there dropping all my cash. Not all my cash, but I got some. Look at this. She is so cute. I'm calling her Tallulah. Tallulah is just the name of the company that sells these. These are hand knitted by women in Mexico. And it says, I will read it to you because it's adorable. Tallulah is the name of unique handcrafted knitted products. I was going to read this tag to you, but I can't, apparently. Stitch by stitch, they are loaded with our history and customs. By purchasing Tallulah products, you contribute to improving the lives of many Mexican women who leave the soul, the heart, and beautiful moments of their lives in each of our creations. This is Tallulah, love knitted by hand. So, it's like yeah, they got me. I couldn't leave her there with all the tourists. I had to take her home with this tourist. So, she's adorable. One of the other things that I bought was we took we took a taxi ride into actual Puerto Vallarta. We were staying in Nuevo Vallarta, which is about half an hour away. So we took a cab ride into actual Puerto Vallarta. I went to the Malecon, which is like a boardwalk type scenario, like just tourist trap basically. We were walking along and we were looking out at the ocean. There was a humpback whale just swimming by. We could see its fin. That's the word I'm looking for. Every once in a while, and we could see it blow. And as we were walking, we're just looking out, watching the whale swim by. It jumped up and breached, and like, I was so excited. Like, it made it so worthwhile to take my 2 small children to this tourist trap boardwalk. It was like 30 degrees, plus 30 degrees Celsius, so hot, sweaty, tourists everywhere. I know, I'm a tourist too. I say tourist like tourists are a bad thing, but I'm a tourist too. But whatever. Just people everywhere. But I saw a humpback whale breach, which I will likely never ever see again in my lifetime, which just made the whole thing so entirely worthwhile. But we also found a store that was very cool. Again, millions of souvenir shops selling garbage. But this one shop was amazing. It was full of hand-beaded statues and little trinkets and things like that. They are all hand-beaded by local indigenous Mexican people who live in Jalisco, in the mountains in Mexico. And they have their own culture, they have their own language, they are self-sustaining in the mountains, but they also are incredible artisans, and they make all these beaded things. This is the name of the store. It's called Tierra Huichol. And they have a website, for sure. Yeah, tierrahuichol.com. They have a number of stores in Mexico, but I'm pretty sure you can order stuff from them. Anyway, this is what I bought. It's a tiny little dish, like I'm using it for stitch markers. So it's just I wasn't gonna buy anything, but I really loved it. I wanted to contribute in some way to these artisans, and I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, they have all these different symbols, and they use all these symbols in the beading, and all the symbols mean something in their culture. And this one, I don't know what symbols are on it, but she wrote on, there was a little tag inside it, that it's a shaman bowl, which is, yeah, I'm a knitting witch. I'm a knit witch. So I make magic with yarn. And so this is my shaman knitting bowl. It's my stitch marker dish. Yeah, so that's what I got. I got those things in Mexico. I got a couple other things in Mexico, but my kids wanted to buy souvenirs. My younger son is 8, and he asked me, I think 15 times before we even left for Mexico, if we could please buy a souvenir when we're there. So we went into the crappy garbage souvenir stores, and the souvenir that he wanted was a pink stuffed turtle that said Puerto Vallarta on it. So that's what he got. And yeah, so those are the things those are my acquisitions. I also brought home a bunch of shells. I don't have them here. I like to, when I walk on the beach, I like to pick up little shells, and I make little stitch markers with them. These are shells from the beach by our cabin. We have a family cabin on Vancouver Island. So I collect shells when we're there and make stitch markers with them. And then I brought home some stitch marker, or some future stitch markers from the beach in Puerto Vallarta. Now, those are my acquisitions. And then my last thing I was going to talk about is things for my knitting room. Last time I talked about the beautiful cross stitch that my mom made me. I have another cross stitch like on the wall there that my mom made me too, but I won't do the same thing twice and bore the shit out of you. So when I was looking for the ball band for this yarn, so I could tell you all, y'all, I'm not American. Y'all feels really weird coming out of my mouth. I was looking for this, and I made this. I finished it last summer, I think. So luckily, I have a number of strategies to keep myself organized because my brain is bing, 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 bing. And this isn't really about being organized. This is more about like being sentimental, I guess. When I started, not really when I started crocheting. When I started crocheting, I was using like all the big balls that you pull from the end from like Michael's and stuff that have the big ball bands on them. So I wasn't keeping those ball bands. But when I started knitting with hand-dyed yarn and just other things that had smaller ball bands on them, I started keeping them. So I went into my handy jar of ball bands and found the one I was looking for. So this is not small, and it is very full. I need to get another one. This is just like a jug from, or jar, big jar from IKEA. And so I need to get another one because it's very full. Like, I can't fit very much more in there. But yeah, if you're a hand dyer out there and wondering if people just throw away their ball bands, I think some people do, but I don't. They're all in here. I love them. There are some commercial ones in here too. Like this was some sort of Lion brand. This is Cascade 220. Like that was West Yorkshire Spinners, but there's also there are a lot of Polka Dot Creek bands in here, let me tell you. But yeah, that's how I don't know, memorialize. I don't know. I really like it. That is my giant jar full of ball bands. So anyway, thank you for coming to watch me again, or thank you for joining me for the first time if this is your first time. I got lots of new followers, subscribers, views, etc. after after Jody mentioned me on the Grocery Girls. So I hope you enjoyed my antics, and I will see you next time. Thank you for coming and visiting me in my knitting room. Bye!